We were drawn to Montana, and I would say we fell in love with Montana first for its landscape.
It was all that variety of different locations that really it hit us hard when we got to Montana and like, this is gorgeous, we need this in our game, and that's exactly what we did. We brought all that variation into our biomes, into our vegetation, and into the world.
It felt really like a wild space that we could own as a Far Cry game, and we also looked at the animals that we could get there, and we felt like it was exactly a match for a Far Cry space.
Everybody expects Far Cry 5 to be beautiful, but on this project, I think we really brought it to the next level in terms of quality and fidelity of what we saw in Montana, bringing it back to our world.
When we set a game in Montana present day, in our own fictional Montana, there are roads, there are houses, and it's interesting to see players starting to play the game and see that they stick to roads, for instance. Because it looks like home, you start to behave like if you were home, instead of crossing the wilderness. So it's interesting to see these new behavior that are related to that setting that's much closer to where we live.
So photogrammetry for us was a technique that we really had to use in order to get that extra details and realism in our assets. So what photogrammetry is that you take pictures around a certain subject, you go all around it, takes all the data of all the images and creates you a 3D object, which you can then take in your engine and transfer it into the game. So for us, it was really changing the way we worked. Being in Montana, that was a perfect opportunity for us to do photogrammetry. We're already there taking pictures of the environment, of the scenery, of how things grow, and the results are gorgeous.
It was a lot of research. We saw right away that fishing was like this really big thing, this cultural thing that people really love to do over there.
Fly fishing was quite present there, and we said we should absolutely try to instill that in the game. Even if it's not a priority, we should have it. It feels that it belongs to that space.
And we didn't just want to do the little simple fishing. We went all out and we did like different types of lures, different types of fishing rods, different types of fish. We really wanted to have a super deep fishing system.
We have somebody on our Toronto team who's a texture artist who comes from Montana, and he sent me an email 2 weeks ago saying, "You guys nailed it."
I would say there are three primary characteristics that define a destructive cult. First of all, a totalitarian leader, a charismatic leader who becomes an object of worship. Number two, that the group has a process of coercive persuasion to break people down, create a mindset of dependency upon the leader for critical thinking, and engenders undue influence. And then finally, number three, that the group does harm.
So I think the cult really came out of this concept of building this character, the father. And then what we did is we moved into the next step of that. We learned a lot about cults.
Ubisoft contacted me and we began to exchange information. You know, they basically bounced things off of me to see if they were historically accurate. So basically what I kind of brought to the table was my long history of work and research dealing with destructive cults. And I think what Ubisoft wanted to do in Far Cry 5 was contextualize their ideas and make sure that they fit within that universe.
Often, and that's what's really scary, was saying, yes, this exists, and actually it was worse. And so we were realizing that then again, reality was far stranger than fiction, and we could go actually way further than what we were doing.
I think the problem is that when you or I think cults, maybe what we think of is just a bunch of people running around in these weird robes, and there's goats around or whatever else, and you're like, what is this? There's all this sort of inference to a very cliche version of a cult. And that's not what this is. We learned a great deal about them. And so we started to build this cult and think about it. And we started to say, how does it work? How would it be seductive?
When a destructive cult wants to take over a particular area, they will have people coming in, buying businesses, buying real estate, and they become a disproportionate amount of the population. I mean, if it's a small town, it may not take that many members of a destructive cult to tip the balance and for the town to become kind of a company town. There have been towns in the United States where the mayor of the town is a member of a group that has been called a cult. And I think in that sense, what Far Cry 5 represents is historically accurate and viable.
And like for instance, we spend a lot of time studying how a cult could get a hold of a space. And that's something that we now summarize in the beginning of the game in, I don't know, 2 sentences. But that strikes the point, and that will be enough.
Maybe 3 years ago it didn't feel this way, but the weirder the world gets and the scarier the world gets, then the more we experience a lack of control. And if somebody shows up at the right moment and says to you, listen, I understand things are scary, let me just talk to you about your tomorrow. I'm gonna make your tomorrow make sense. People go, okay, that sounds reasonable, and they fall into it.
You can feel that we are creeping towards the edge.
I don't think I'm a villain. I don't think the Father is a villain. I think in a lot of ways I come from a place of love with it, but I also have a certainty that I'm right. And sometimes when you're right, you have to force even the people you love to choose the right path. And that creates discord. And we really explore a family that's held together by love and fear, which oftentimes families are.
See, we don't have to do a lot of work. He talks like that all the fucking time.
We are creeping toward the edge.
When you watch these scenes as a player, you can't turn away. It's terrifying, it's spooky, it's horrific. But at the same time, there's something relatable at some level to him.
We had to make it plausible that any one of the team members could be taken and brought into this cult. And watching you act, it just gives you goosebumps when you see it.
You know, this is the thing, I'm weird. I'm not gonna, like here, in real life, I'm a great dad, I bake cupcakes, and I also play monsters. Like there is a dark current that runs through me, and I have found...
But you need that.
You do
right?
need that.
If you're gonna make a character that's real, it can't just be painted with one brush, right? You've gotta have somebody who understands the concept of love and understands all the things that come with it, and also understands the concept of darkness.
There was some dark moments that happened that were just...
I can think of one right now.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of too. And it's just, it was like the worst thing in me came out, and we were able to catch it and ride that wave.
I remember watching you were like a panther going back and forth because you knew something special was going to happen and you were building up all this stuff.
That is the world that you built.
Every once in a while in Toronto, a train goes by, and no matter what you're doing, whatever you're shooting, it has to stop because it's a train. And so we knew that it might be coming, and you were in the mood to be able to just nail this, and you sat down and it was 2 minutes long, and it was absolute gold. We captured absolute gold in that moment, and all I was thinking the whole time was no fucking train, no fucking train, no fucking train, no fucking train.
And there was no fucking train.
No, there's no train.
God would not allow the train to interrupt that take.
It was powerful. We put our heart and souls into the game to be able to say, look, there's all this stuff you can do, there's all these emotional moments you can have, but at the same time, we want the players to play it the way they want. And if they want to snack on one thing that's a story, or snack on just going out in the world and blowing shit up, they can.
Those yeehaw moments.
Exactly.
There's a lot of yeehaw in that game.
Play it the way you want to play
Yeah.
it, right? So that's what we want. We just want them to play it the way they want to play.
And join the cult. That's what we really want.
I guess Far Cry Absolution is, it's really the story of this individual against this larger, almost invading force. But that force, these characters are finding out, is already there. They're already in place, and they're already surrounded. I ended up creating a character of my own. He's kind of a guy he's had a run of bad luck. Will has lost his family, and John and the father specifically are offering him a chance to be one of them, and they call him brother, and the father calls him his son. And Mary May, who's the other sort of main character in the novel, and Mary May has lost her father, her mother, and her brother in some sense.
And then they showed up.
I mean, I don't think the father's evil at all. I had a lot of fun with him as a character. I don't think they're completely evil. In some way, he's like trying to show them the way. John, on the other hand, he's a little bit of a loose cannon. He's my like main bad guy. I got to sit down with all the various heads of development, you know, like narrative, Dan Hay. The game script was really, I mean, it really read like a film script. It was just entertaining, you know? It was entertaining and wild, and can you actually put that in a video game? I think with Far Cry Absolution, you get that deeper understanding of what is this world, where does it come from, who are these people, all the sort of things that are battering against the players in Far Cry 5. And I hope I nailed it.